Who we're missing? Oh, we're missing.
No, that's what I like.
Is Linda
She was
not
right
coming?
behind Zuby, so she'll be here momentarily. Does that sound
Do
good?
you want to wait for Linda or
I'd rather get going.
get going? Yeah, get started.
So. All right. Hello, everyone. We have a quorum, and Linda is on her way in, so we're going to call this meeting to order. I want to thank you all for coming. Just a couple quick comments. I wanted to remind everyone that we have changed the meeting format. So we have a working session now. That's the second Wednesday of the month. So many of these documents on the consent agenda, we have already gone through. We've asked questions. We've gotten responses. And so that's why it's on the consent agenda. And then this is the board meeting. And so during this meeting, we will go through the consent agenda, the non-consent agenda, and then some of the reports. But we plan to be done by 5 o'clock. So we've significantly shortened the board meeting, but we've added a working session as well. I also want to highlight that we've changed the agenda. If you look at the agenda, we've put the president's report and public comments at the end. And part of this was, especially with the public comments, Member Wilson had suggested that we move it later in the day so that we can actually get the public in here after the working day. And so we're trying to accommodate that by moving it to the end of the meeting. That's really kind of the things I want to bring to people's notice. Hopefully what we're focusing on is having a more efficient and effective meeting, more streamlined, so we're certainly open to feedback. So please feel free to give us any feedback. All right, so moving on to election of the officers and the slate. I'm not really sure how to do this, so I've been talking with President Raleigh. I think that I open it up for a motion or go ahead.
You know, it might make sense, almost, Madam Chair, for us to have the election first for the chair and the vice chair, so then you feel like
I can actually run the other one.
you're really the chair and all that.
Okay.
And then we can elect a secretary.
Okay, so do I do the election for the chair?
Does someone else have to nominate you, maybe?
Well,
I'll make a motion to nominate Jody for chair.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All against? All right, I guess it passes.
Oh, you
All right, I'm
are.
the chair, then I'm officially gonna.
Yay.
Woo! All right, well, thank you. All right, and do I have a motion for the vice chair?
I nominate, go ahead, Zuby.
Nominate Jody. Oh, I'm sorry. Here.
Thank you.
Do I have
I
a
accept.
second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
All against? All right, the motion carries. There you go, Pierre.
Thank you.
Vice Chair. All right, so moving on, our next officer position is Secretary. Do I have any nominations for Secretary?
I'll nominate Member Siegel for secretary.
All right.
Do you accept?
Yeah, sure.
You need a second.
Enthusiastic.
Do I have a second?
Did you second, Lena?
I haven't seconded yet because we're just waiting for more nominations.
Mormon, well, are there more
I
nominations?
don't know. Okay, then second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? All right, it carries. Linda, you're secretary. All right, got through that pretty quick. All right, moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the agenda.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor to adopt the agenda as is? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adopting the agenda as it is. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion about the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
What is the,
All right, is that as the whole agenda? Everything on the consent agenda? Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as is?
just on that point,
Yes.
it's not a consent agenda, is it? The consent agenda is usually what we call those things that we pass without discussing them. So this is just our agenda.
No, we just did the agenda. So the consent agenda is the stuff that we discussed during the working session.
The
Oh,
minutes of those two meetings.
Yeah,
we
so,
went through all those.
since I haven't gotten
Yeah,
there yet.
sorry.
Yeah, you were not
we
in the
have-
work session, that's.
Right.
yeah, so on the
Okay.
consent agenda, we have the meeting minutes from December 6th. We have the joint meeting minutes of the governing board and foundation board from December 6th. We have the November, December financial reports. And we have policy 8-4 and policy 8-6. And so we discussed all of those at the working session 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And got our questions answered and, so.
Changes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so is the motion
Thank you.
still stand then?
Yeah.
And second? Okay. All in favor of passing the consent agenda as is?
Aye.
Say aye.
I just want to comment that I like the policy 8.4, and it was very thorough, and thank you for addressing my concerns. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes. All right, so section 6, actions on items removed from consent agenda. We didn't remove any. So moving on to section 7. These are the action items on the non-consent agenda. So the first up is approval of the financial report with Mr. Tellis.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members and President Rowley. You all are moving quickly.
We're trying. That was the
That's a
intent,
good
right?
thing. That's a good thing. So this is, as you mentioned, we did review the November, December financial reports in the work session, and we didn't get to this one just because of the timing of things. And so really quickly speaking from the MD&A, for the report at the end of January, we did show that the operating bank account balance was $53 million at the end of January. In the prior year, we had $51 million. That's a year-to-year increase of $2.5 million. Tuition and fees revenues up to a total of $5.7 million compared to $4.8 in the prior year. That's an increase of a bit over $800,000. State appropriation revenue was $8.5 million, and that's an increase of 1.4 from the prior year. State appropriations revenue. Looking at local mill levy appropriations, there's a bit of a timing issue here in the report where we have this January, we have $15.3 million in total revenues received through January. The report shows that $6.3 million were reported last year, but that's just because we were heavily in the midst of the workday conversion last January. If you remember, we had just in January did the cutover and we did the go live in January. So I think there was a timing issue of where we had actually booked revenues. That should level out with the February and March reports. Other sources of revenue was $1.3 million. This is pretty high when you compare it to prior years. And in January 2023, last year we had 170,000 total. That's an increase of 1.2 million. And the increase is due to us recording legal settlement cash in that category of ING, as well as return on our interest rate with our bank balance, especially now that it's gotten to be higher. ING expenses had increased 27% and are up 4.6 million, totaling 21.4 million this January. If you look at compensation, that's up 42%, up 5.3 million for a total of 18.1 million. And that's about a $5.3 million increase from January 2023 of last year. Supplies, expense, equipment, utilities were totaled 3.3 million, and we're down $766,000. That's down 19%. So that's it in terms of the kind of the highlights. Please let me know if you'd like to go further into the detailed report.
Madam, sorry, how do you do this? I was going to say, do I raise my hand or?
Madam Chair, yeah.
Madam Chair, I have a question. What's the difference between IG expenses and IG compensation?
So,
ING expenses and ING compensation?
yes, so
They're both expenses, aren't they?
correct. I think that kind of is displayed a little bit more specifically if we go to the report.
Okay.
So let's turn to the ING detailed report. Should be like page 3 of the PDF. Actually, yeah, it's page 3 of the detail.
I think it's
I see.
4 in ours, but yeah.
I see, oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah, so
Is-
just, I'll just walk you through this
right, I see.
chart. The column that is highlighted in yellow is the prior year fiscal year actuals. And then we compare that to the current year, current fiscal year 2023-2024 FYTD, which is fiscal year to date numbers. And so at tuition and fee, you can see that last year we had that number of 4.8 million. And then this year we have about 5.7 million. Tuition and fees has gone up 17%. Same applies to state appropriation, that comparison. The original budget column is the budget that was approved for this year. And so we always make a comparison between actual numbers compared to the original budget, because we like to keep track of that as well. So you see that that section at the top is for revenue. And then moving on, we show the expenditures by exhibit. So the exhibits are instruction, academic support, student services, institutional support, plant operation maintenance. We also call that facilities. And these are all the instruction in general categories for those exhibits. And so in these numbers for like Exhibit 10 instruction, you have compensation, but you also have the supplies, expense, utilities, and all of the expenses that really are attributed to the instruction line item. And then below that, you'll see that that last section is the breakdown of compensation and expenses. And so that takes all of the exhibits and kind of combines them into the salaries and wages, benefits in those categories, and you see that there. So last year we had 9.7 million in salaries and wages. This year we had 13.6 million. That's up 41%. Benefits are that line item right below. Excuse me. Last year we had 3.1 million, and this year we have 4.5 in benefits. And so then you can tally up the compensation. And then below that you have supplies and expense. Supplies and expense are really items related to goods, services, any of those categories, even travel. What else? Really, those are the main categories there in supplies and expense. And then you can see the figures from last year compared to this year. Equipment, it's a very small number, so we've always presented that on the financial report. Utilities are another section. And so last year we had 352,000 in utilities expense compared to 478,000 this year. And so then the thing I think that will make sense to you, hopefully, is that if you look at total expenses for the exhibits, which is for this year 21,375,051, That ties into the total expenditures, slicing it by compensation and expenses. That total is the same amount, 21,375,051. So it's the same amount of expenses, just sliced and diced differently.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, I had a question just about food service. I think it's at the end of the report. If we could just get an update on how that's going.
Yes, so we are still in the works with trying to work out the billing. We actually have a lot of billing that we need to initiate with the master's program. So the costs and the revenues associated with the master's program are still not in here, but it's still a bit of a work in progress. But now we're actually starting to see some of the activity. So through January, we have 182,000 in revenues of the same amount. That's just kind of how January shook out, and actually have a meeting with them next week to really finalize our systems with how they report and collect the revenues related to food service and how that gets to the college. Because the two things that we're still needing to work out is master's program billing as well as catering services. So those should show up in the next couple of financial reports over the next couple months.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
So on the operating account at Century Bank, what, are we generating any revenue from that?
Yes, Madam Chair and Member Siegel, in the MD&A, so that's the narrative report.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to, there's a section under revenues called Other Sources. And this is where it kind of spells out that out of the 1.3 million at the end of January, $313,000 through January is attributed to the interest rate of return on our bank balance.
Okay, I don't see that in other sources. You mean that 1.3 million, you're saying?
Yeah, 313,000 of it is interest rate of return from the bank balance.
Okay, and the other sources are,
And the other amount is really 750,000 from a legal
Oh.
settlement.
right.
And that will actually get moved to public service as we set up operations for KSFR. I think we're going to talk about that today.
Okay. So, is there a way to break that out? Just so we know? Or we just have to ask every time? Break that interest income out?
I can actually,
As
I can just put it on the, I'll just put it on the bullet points, the highlights.
Okay, okay, fine. Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair. Nick, I'm wondering, so we're still getting a little bit slow bleed of the money from the county, the mill level money. Did we get more in January, or is this? Do you get a sense that the county is deliberately holding anything up, or is it just a matter of timing?
This year we did not, yeah, and even last year, I don't think it was a matter of the county holding anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a matter of us having so much work to, and trying to get the system up in place to where we were able to record some of these revenues.
Okay.
And the local mill levy is one of them. And having that in place to book that last year, I think it took us longer. And so we'll see that in the February report where it's more even with respect to mill levy revenues last year compared to this year. And that should show up in the February report and definitely by March.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, there's no worry of mine, like concern from the county not allocating the revenues. that are due to the college every month.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Pierre, did you have another one?
I was just also, I do.
Okay.
Thank you. I was also noticing the revenue, let's see, oh, I lost my place, for the bookstore. So that looks like it's going really well.
Yeah, it's going, and we're learning actually with the new vendors. We don't, this is all of the experience we have with these two vendors so far. So it's a bit of a work in progress, and things look good from that regard in terms of the bookstore. So I hope that continues to the rest of the fiscal year, but it's kind of remains to be seen. And so, yeah, a lot of those expenditures really are related to charges that we have to pay related to our dual credit books that go through our college and how we have to pay for those dual credit books. We end up getting reimbursed for it eventually, but that's why you see so many expenditures, because we really shouldn't have had any. We don't have expenditures on our part from the college's utilization of the bookstore. It's just we do have to pay for the dual credit books that come through, and then we're reimbursed for those. And then a lot of these revenues also are on the snacks and things like that that are purchased there.
And then just to make sure I understand, are those reimbursements coming from like the individual school districts that we work with or from the state? Well, I guess, is it funneled through the schools?
Yeah, the schools.
All from, okay.
There he is.
Okay. So you have to wait to get reimbursed from all the different schools that we're working with. Okay. Thank you.
On that point, so there's 127,000 of books purchased for dual credit?
I'd have to look specifically at what was
Wasn't that
attributed
the-
to dual credit, but
Let's
yeah,
see.
probably close to that.
I have one more question. On the last page about the capital improvement, all the capital outlay. So there's a difference of like about 15 million that you expected to have by now. Are you, the original budget is 22 million, and then it sounds like actual was only a little less than 7 million. So are you expecting a 15 million revenue somehow?
Very, very good question, Madam Chair and Board Member Garman. So with the plant fund, budgeting is always a tricky business. Most of the time we kind of have to budget more capacity, so a higher level of budget capacity just so that it's approved. That doesn't mean we're going to spend exactly that amount of money. We have bonds that are in place under, usually local bonds where we will have budgeted the total. Let's say we had maybe educational technology notes is a better example. So we might have $7 million in educational technology notes available on the balance sheet. So those are bond proceeds that are sitting there. We'll budget the whole amount, $7 million, but we'll know like there's only so much time during the year to spend that's
Right.
whatever part of the $7 million that we can spend, but we'll budget the whole amount knowing that we're probably going to spend 30 to 40% of it. Just got a timing of how sourcing, vendors, procurements, planning, architectural design, all these different things come into play. So
it's more important to look at that you've got the actual expenditures is about 8 million, and you raised about 7 million, so we're good there.
correct. Yeah, it's more of that's
That's better to look at that.
Like a better determination of how financial performance is going is
Yeah.
we spent 8 million and we have revenues received of
7 million.
7 million.
6.8, yeah.
The rest would probably be accounts receivable
Okay,
on some of those things.
thank you.
All right, any other questions? I have a question then, Nick. Back to the summary of revenues and expenditures, and it's along those same lines that Member Gurman was just asking about. Under the equipment section, under equipment, you have, let's see, last year's was 8.6 thousand. This year's, the original budget was 6.3 million. And then of that, we've spent, I think, 38.
That one's tricky, Madam Chair. I just want to take equipment out. I think Workday does a different way of presenting that now, so.
Yeah, it's that one.
Yeah, so the 6.3 is the total for all of the categories, so 6.3 between supplies, equipment, utilities. It's not just the line item for equipment.
Okay, so even though last year was 8.6 thousand, was that supplies as well? Or did we change, what changed there?
That was equipment, that's just equipment, so like furniture, things like
So
that.
in that piece, you took out equipment.
Oh, I'm not following.
So under equipment, under 22, 23, you have 8.6 thousand, right?
Yep,
And then you budgeted this year 6.3 million.
Good
And
enough.
you're saying that is supplies and equipment.
that's the budget for all of these categories of supplies, equipment, and utilities.
Got it. Okay, I see what you're,
You know, it's
I'm
like,
good now. I thought it
Oh,
was
it's the
just
purple.
equipment carried across, but it's all of them together.
in
Got
this
it.
case,
Okay.
like,
He merged the cells.
the cells are,
I
Okay,
got
so
confused
was
for
like,
a
how do we go
second.
from thousands to
yeah,
millions?
that cell is
Back to
the whole
thousands.
budget
Yeah.
amount for
And no
supplies.
supplies. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Plus,
Okay, all right.
plus
I got it.
equipment needs to be depreciated, right? So you won't even
Yeah, but
take all 6 million if it was equipment.
yeah,
an
we
expense.
depreciate that at
Yeah.
the end of the year.
Yeah.
At the, yeah, it's a depreciation expense.
Yeah.
That shows up in the audit report, which is another interesting way, because in the audit, they have to group a lot of these things differently. This is a presentation really showing the budget along the lines of how HED wants us to present it in terms of these exhibit categories. There is a different way the auditors are required to present our financials in that reporting format.
All right.
Higher ed, like budgeting and finance is interesting. Even our plant fund, it's a blend between, what do they call it at HED? They call it the budget basis of accounting, which is really not, I don't think, a thing, but it's a blend between budgeting and also the figures that you have to keep in your balance sheet. It's a bit of a compilation of
Combo
both.
income statement and balance sheet.
Yes, because most of those things that are assets, as you might be familiar with, some of those things that are assets, such as bonds, those really are not expense sort of like income statement items. They're really just balance sheet items. But HED likes to show that together to show that those transactions are happening. And so it's just interesting that way.
All right. Any other questions? Do I have a motion then to approve?
I move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Approve the financial report for January 2024. Moving on to the approval of the HED quarterly financial report for fiscal year '24. I believe that's you as well.
Move to approve.
Second.
I'm the
All
only
in
one.
favor?
I'm the only one who's new to
We
this.
see this every quarter. One page, same checks.
I saw that, but I'm like, it's called financial report, and I don't see a single number.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
got
that-
confused here.
Madam Chair and Member German, that's another interesting HED thing.
Got it,
Where
got it.
they just they want the board to just verify that these things are in place so that,
Yeah.
that they have record, we have tools in place that are capturing financial information properly. So it's really the same thing. There hasn't been any, other than the workday changes, but we set it up according to the rules. That's been the big thing, but we answer the questions favorably to the college, and so.
Okay.
All right.
Move to approve.
Second?
I think you had a first
Or do
and
we
a
have
second
it?
already, all in
Need a
favor.
second.
I seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion's approved. All right, thank you. All right, approval of NMHED capital forms, the EMSI awnings project, which we have been following since last spring, I think, right?
Yeah.
Are we close to completion?
So this was an interesting, Madam Chair and board members and President Rowley. We originally started this project with a budget that we thought was, how much? Remember? It was under 300,000. And then with some additional work with the architects or contractors, it exceeded the 300,000. So HED has a threshold of anything over 300, they have to approve through these forms. And so once it exceeded that, now we have to put these forms in place, even though we started the project. So ultimately,
That's why we went
yeah,
backwards in
that's
the
why
process.
you remember
Why. Oh, yeah.
approving probably the contract originally.
So this is the opposite of what you said before about the planned fund, where you overestimate. Here you underestimated how much to spend. That's okay. I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, you just said earlier.
We-
Okay.
Yeah, we normally, and you could talk about the way we estimate some of these.
Don't worry about it. I'm just,
Well, we have had some problems in the past because once we put it out for bid, nobody bids, it comes in higher than we anticipated. And so,
Happening a lot.
yeah, we have done this before.
yeah,
Right?
no big deal.
So Madam Chair and Member Germain, yeah, that's exactly kind of what happens is you get estimates based on the design from the architects typically. And then once they estimate that, you kind of go off of those numbers and thinking that's probably pretty close. Usually it's within 10%, but in the last 2-3 years, it's been all over the place. It can be over by 40%. We have had that kind of swing in our numbers, and the construction industry has been like that ever since COVID. So with that being said, part of the cart before the horse on this one was because the actual construction cost was below 300,000. So the project manager working on this project did not flag it as something that HED needed to see or review. But HED looks at the project in total cost, meaning construction, design, contingency, tax, all those things. So by the time you add all of those, you're over the 300,000 threshold. So that's what happened with this project. It's been built. It's actually 95% complete, but they want oversight on the actual project itself, the forms being approved. So
Otherwise,
that's what.
They won't reimburse us too, right, if they don't have these forms.
Correct, yeah. And they also gave us additional legislative funding last year for this project to sort of bolster the cost, because we knew it was going to be more. So that was nice, but the challenge is that you have to go out for these notice of obligations, and at that point, that's when they said, hey, your total project cost is over 300.
So Madam Chair and Board Member Siegel, when they ask why projects aren't spent down quickly, it's because of a lot of these like bureaucratic kind of things that we have to go through, honestly, and it slows down projects and things like that. And again, going back, originally in 2021, we had, reading off of the agenda item, in 2021, the legislature approved $150K for this project. We were going to come up with the remaining 50,000. But then in 2023, we got state general fund appropriations of another 100,000, so then we could expand the project a little bit more. And so this is what kind of happens with a lot of these things, where funding does come in at different times, and then we have to report things to HED, and then the board only meets once a month, and so it does get kind of challenging coordinating all of these things, especially when we have, 40 projects going on at any given time.
A question on that point. So was this capital outlay from legislators, or this was part of our HED request? I mean, is there any difference then in the reporting?
No, the reporting's the same. It all comes, other than these, remember when they approved some capital through state general fund appropriations related to capital projects?
Right, well, that's like this year, our money is from general fund.
Yeah. We still have to submit that back to HED and get reimbursed for it normally. Sometimes we'll get it and they'll allocate it to us up front, but in this case, we have to ask for the reimbursement back.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on this? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. it
Thank you all very
passes.
much.
Thank you.
We'll finish the
Can't
last,
wait to
finish
see
the
this
awning.
when it's
And
done.
have a party.
Take a drive.
Look at the awning.
Huh?
Go look at it today, it's mostly.
Oh, is it mostly
You'll
done?
notice it.
6 times
Oh,
before.
back over. Oh, okay,
This is not what you mean by building a shed requires.
okay, cool. All right, moving on to the approval to transfer management and operations from KSFR to SFCC. Mr. Lovato.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Morimoto.
That's a fun one.
Good afternoon. Chair Pugh, Vice Chair Quintana, Secretary Siegel, newly minted officers, congratulations. Remaining members of the board, we still big fans. Ex officio Young, President Rowley, there.
No, but did you say my name right, my last name? And this is the training I'm trying to get.
Will feel free to correct me at any time. But thank you for having us. We are here today to provide an update on progress with KSFR, Santa Fe Public Radio Station, listener supported. And this is about the project that the board and President Rowley and members of the college have been engaged in for quite some time now, about bringing the radio station back under the auspices of Santa Fe Community College. This is a topic that was initiated. Oh, well, then before I move forward, this is Tazba McCullough, General Manager of the station. I'm joined by
Hello, welcome.
Dr. Morimoto of Santa Fe Community College, as you know. So we're sharing the general agreement in your board packet between SFCC and the Northern New Mexico Radio Foundation, which was the governing agency of KSFR. And there's more details in the agreement. Before I kind of just open this up to your feedback, I just think, as you know, KSFR is, I see it and many see it as the crown jewel of listener-supported, independent news, independent programming, public radio in our region, not just in Santa Fe, but extending up north and to all of its kind of terrestrial footprint. So I'm grateful for this kind of multi-departmental effort that's taken place, and we're ready and motivated and excited to continue to work with KSFR, support KSFR, not only on its operations but in its journalistic integrity and programming integrity, and so thanks for your support, and we're happy to try to answer any additional questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions?
One question.
Member Herman?
On page 2, it's page 4 in the document, but it's page 2 and marked. I mean, everywhere it mentions Santa Fe Community College, the transfer property to Santa Fe Community College, everything about Santa Fe Community College. And all of a sudden, on section 1.9, financial assets will be transferred to Santa Fe Community College Foundation. So I just wanted a little bit of clarification on that.
I'm going to answer that first, and then if I'm not doing a suitable enough job, I'll pass it to my colleagues. But KSFR, as a listener-supported entity, draws support from the community in both underwriting and from listeners themselves. And those need to be treated a bit differently than their like physical assets.
The donations.
The donations, correct.
Okay. So that's the only role for the Santa Fe Community College Foundation. But at some point, you might be able to get money to support KSFR from that? A transfer from the foundation to pay for some expenses?
Thank you. I'm excited about the potential for working with our foundation. This is just the beginning. Right now, the focus has been on just setting up the proper structure. But yes, fundraising and kind of synergy, I guess I'll call it, is something that we're looking forward to having more conversations about. Right. Oh, yes. Thank you. And grant opportunities.
Right. So we'll continue to accept and solicit donations, but through the foundation. Okay, cool.
Correct. And good question. And also, this has, I think, received support far and wide that also includes from the legislators, including Senator Peter Worth and others. So, yeah, KSFR has a lot of goodwill in the community.
I love it.
Question.
Member Siegel?
So I was here when we did the agreement to transfer management to the, to KSFR. What were we calling it? Foundation?
New Mexico Radio.
Yeah. And so we didn't transfer property or anything. We just transferred the management, and the foundation used our existing station. Correct? Okay. So at this point, we're going to add 3 employees, correct?
4, 5.
5 employees, I see. Okay. And that is going to go under your department, or?
Yes, I have been asked to support the transition, and that I will ultimately be the supervisor of that area, of those new employees.
And so everybody on, what's the date? Whatever the date is going to become a Santa Fe Community College employee.
That's correct.
March 11th.
March 11th.
March 11th, right. And so I know that I personally donate to KSFR, so you must have money in the foundation. Is that transferred to our foundation? Yes.
I might be able to clarify, Member
Yeah.
Chair Pugh, Member Quinton, Member Siegel. So there will be a separate account. KSFR will have its own restricted account within the foundation so that KSFR's grants, because, you know, pretty much one of the most significant sources of income for the station is a public broadcasting grant. So they will keep that, and then their donations will need to be branded separately. So that, yes, it does, you know, there is a donation portal that is specifically designated for the radio station, so that it doesn't look like you have to donate to the Santa Fe Community College Foundation to make a donation from KSFR. What happens on the back page of that, we will handle, but we want to be real clear that KSFR certainly has its own set of donors, as you mentioned, and there are a lot of people that donate to KSFR that would not be donating to the foundation.
Right.
And so we don't want to mess that up for them.
And so then does that money get transferred for operation services to our operating account to pay for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so do we have budget number estimates of expenses, costs?
We included on the packet an estimation of annual expenses, and can I just see that number?
643,000.
Where is that?
And first page.
First page?
On the proposed agenda item sheet, And
Oh, I see.
what I will say on that is just that that amount is offset by their regular business, by their fundraising efforts, by Corporation for Public Broadcasting, by so those state funding and now support from appropriations.
What state funding have we ever gotten? Oh,
That's coming.
that's in the budget for July 1, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm really glad to see the college resuming responsibility for KSFR. So.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in there that there's kind of two areas that I see as distinct firewalls or areas of independence. One is the fundraising that Becky mentioned, President Raleigh mentioned, but also the other is with journalistic independence and programming independence. There's some really nice language in this agreement that kind of establishes that relationship in ways that we saw kind of set by other public radio stations that were embedded in colleges or universities. One of them not too far away from Santa Fe, and so that's just another piece of this that the college, I believe, is taking very seriously in case far as willing to partner with us under those terms.
And we may be able to do more student engagement with KSFR now. And
Yeah, let me just have Tazba briefly address
yeah,
that because that's
yeah.
a great question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. We are really looking forward to more student engagement, a more robust feeder program from certain student sectors that are at the college. As a matter of fact, I hired a graduate of Santa Fe Community College who is now our station operations manager. We have Baxter Clinton behind me. He was an intern from a university in the University of Maine, and because we're short a reporter, he lives in Santa Fe, and he decided to help us out until we hire a regular reporter. But that's going to be one of our big pushes is to create that internship program, not only with Santa Fe students, but Santa Fe Community College students, but with IAIA and high school students. So we've done a little bit of that in the past, but we really, with this institution behind us now, with the college behind us now, I think we're going to be able to do a lot more than we have been in the past.
Great. And Zuby still gets his show?
I was going to ask.
I was going to say, first I want to disclose that I've been involved with the station from before we transferred it to, and then, but I've had some really good conversations with Eric, and I think Eric Davis is interested in helping to be a part of the academic community here and offer some of his talent. I think it's a really good blend, a really good connection. What question I have is, are the employees of the station now going to be classified employees of the college working under HR, and so and do we have the classifications of where they fit into the staff?
Thank you, Board Member Wilson, for your question there. Yes, that we have the classification identified, and we have a contract set up for these employees.
Mm-hmm. So their benefits will be our benefits. They'll be reflected.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right.
Is it possible to know like how much cash is going to be transferred over to the foundation? Like, I mean, you mentioned the expenses, but is there any cash that's going to cover some of these expenses for this year?
Thank you for that question, Member Gurman.
German.
Erman.
German.
Okay. I've got that just wrong in my head. I need to work on it. Gurman.
It's okay.
There's, in addition to, whatever other, like transfer things are happening now, there is going to be a more thorough, in April, the board and finance go through kind of a deep dive on the college, expenses and finances, and those are broken into line items that I would, if I can, just suggest that there'll be more to learn about those in that during those sessions.
Madam Chair, I can also, so up until really pretty recently, KSFR somehow or another has been holding its own. And so they have a part-time bookkeeper who keeps track of all of their finances, files their tax returns, and does all that. And then they're largely, dependent upon the Corporation for Public Broadcasting grant, some other grants. There was a Lannan Foundation grant that was about $60,000 that the Northern Mexico Radio Foundation had been consistently receiving, and then that foundation dissolved. And so not getting that grant was really difficult for the station. And so they have made it, and I will just say that TASBA has made some extraordinary sacrifices to have that happen. And so that really is been the mitigating factor really in how they've had a hard time going forward financially. And so with the money that we can help with having a broader fundraising machine kind of behind them, even better grant writing opportunities. TASBA knows where all the money is. She, as a one-person operation, is not able to go get all the money and do all the other things she has to do, like reporting on different occasions. And so by directing our grant writing people to the right sources, we can be a lot more efficient in getting a lot of that. So the money is there now. We want to make it better and give them a better infrastructure and not have to be worrying so much every month about how they're gonna stay in the black every single month by a very narrow margin.
Thank you. Thanks for that explanation. I do have a question. So back to section 1.9 where we talked about all the financial obligations will be satisfied. Will we be assuming any debt as part of this transfer?
No.
Okay. Simple enough. Any other questions?
Thank you. Chair Pugh, I do have a follow-up to your question. So we're not taking on any debt. That's good to hear. And then the second question I have is, do we have, right, I know you put in here the estimated amount that this is going to cost, and you've indicated that it's going to be covered by other sources. Are there any expenses that we're going to be expected to take on beginning March 11th, right? Have we already budgeted for that? If so, how much of the $640,000 is coming from the institution?
Came a long way, Madam Chair, to say this. That's coming up soon in a budget adjustment that we'll have to get all of the financials sorted out as we work with the board to prepare that budget adjustment along with the new upcoming FY25 budget. So yes, you'll see it in there. Part of it is we'll be able to receive some of these monies, but we'll also need to get that adjustment in place too, because we're kind of doing this as we're fixing the engine as we're moving the car here. And so
Seems like
that's kind of how it is. But we're in a good place. I mean, ultimately, the Northern Mexico Radio Foundation, they come along with money. The CPB, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, is a substantial grant along with other contributions from listeners. And again, we have $750,000 from that settlement that I think we had kind of discussed that the intent should be to be utilized for this, as well as we have a $200,000 appropriation that we received for FY25 coming up from the legislature for KSFR. So that alone is almost $1 million plus the CPB, which is probably $1.2 million around there or so. So we have capital enough to to get going and things like that. There's no issue from my perspective on that sort of thing, but again, it's going to be like any kind of new operation. It's going to take time to get things rooted in and integrated in order to really get to that critical mass of being able to really leverage the college resources to get more assets, more contributions to the station that will be more like recurring and you know, in place to really sustain everything, all of the needs for the station. But we're in a good place, so.
Madam Chair, I'm just wondering, I'd like, you know, it doesn't need to be an action item, but I think moving forward, I remember we were not, the higher education center wasn't going to cost us anything, and then it ended up costing a lot. I'm just hoping that as we go forward, if it looks like things are getting, you know, that we're subsidizing it more than we planned, I just want to make sure that we get regular reports to the board about, so that we can look at that and maybe even help in fundraising.
Madam Chair and Member Wilson, you'll see it every month in the financial report under the Public Service Fund. It'll be located in there. It once was, if you remember.
Yes.
When I started with the college, there was a few things still remaining in there, but yeah, we'll revive that again, and then you'll see it in the Public Service Fund every month.
All right, any final questions?
No, just a comment. I mean, I looked up actually the 990 for the nonprofit, and looks like you guys been doing well the last, I mean, all the years. You've got plenty in assets, and it's about 400 to 500,000 a year expenses. So this is just along. Yeah, it looks like they can raise the money, no problem.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, they have been doing so much with so little for
Yeah.
so long
Yeah,
that
this is good.
I'm confident that they can pretty much do anything from just about nothing. So
Looks good.
Well, I'd just like to make one comment about, I mean, Zuby and I are the only ones who know why this even happened, that we don't have KSFR. And it was because the board at the time decided it was a loss, money loss, and we wanted to give it to someone else to do. We even thought of selling it or doing whatever. And I think that KSFR can be a valuable entity integrated into the college and used for all sorts of things that impact our students and get the message out about the college, because I know you all did that to some extent, but now we can really utilize the radio station as just like that other station does out of UNM. So I'm really glad to see this. It's like come full circle after, when was that, 10 years ago, something? Yeah.
All right, well, on that note, do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
I'm going to abstain just because
Sure, okay.
Because you're getting paid a lot of money for your,
very expensive hobby. You know.
All right, well, the motion's approved. Welcome back.
Thank you all very much, and thanks for having me.
And more work for Kelly.
All right, that concludes the non-consent agenda. Moving on to Section 8, matters related to SFCC policy. First readings, we don't have any.
About 4 o'clock.
So, I know, we're going to move through this, I hope. Okay, moving on to communications. We have the Faculty Senate report. Is that Dr. Valdez?
I feel we should get the 5 minutes breaks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sometimes my mic is really loud in there, I feel, and everybody.
Yeah. There you go, we see you.
That's good news on KSFR. I remember when I was a student here once upon a time, I was able to be on it a few times, and it was great for all of us, and it's awesome to have it back under our control. So, anyways, down to the formalities. Good afternoon, Dr. Rowley, Chair Pugh, members of the board, and colleagues. My name is Dr. Jared Valdez. I'm the chair of this Faculty Senate. Hope you're all having a great spring. I'll share my report and welcome any questions. First, I'd like to congratulate you as the new chair of the governing board and those newly elected. Although my time, unfortunately, as Senate Chair will be up at the end of the semester, I look forward to working with you and am excited to see how the faculty and students will grow through your future support. So welcome and all that good stuff. Here are a few additional updates. Sarah Hood, our librarian, joined the Senate and discussed ways in which we can implement a standard in all of our classes for the use of artificial intelligence. We look forward to working with her in this important endeavor. We're gonna create a little committee to come up with language we can put in our syllabi. Dr. Rowley joined us last meeting. We were able to have a productive and encouraging meeting with her. In an effort to bridge stronger bond with the admin, we're happy to say that the new Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Lopez, will be joining us at our next meeting to discuss his new role at the college. Likewise, I'd again like to invite any of you who'd like to join a Faculty Senate meeting this semester. Just reach out to me or any of my Senate officers and we'd be happy to schedule you in. Last semester, we sent you the updates to the new Faculty Senate Constitution and look forward to your thoughts on that and approval on that matter. Finally, I'd just like to take a moment to press the importance of the public comments that will soon be heard in today's meeting. As chair, I know countless faculty who have 2 or 3 jobs, and when I say countless, I mean the majority, because they can't support their families on their current pay wage. I personally have been affected and sometimes wonder how I'll make it to the next check while also feeding my daughter, myself, my 30-year-old truck that I hope starts every morning, and pay my rent that takes up more than a single paycheck. This is all to say the legislator doesn't acknowledge our contribution, yet our school's president and leaders all have our backing and their backing and want us to get paid a living wage. Ultimately, as board members, we ask you to help us, please help us, and support us in the upcoming union negotiations. Step 1 in supporting our college's mission and our students is building an environment that allows faculty and staff to focus on this job and this job alone, without worrying about the burdens of low pay, costly insurance, all that stuff Santa Fe brings, especially this town. So that being said, you have no idea how much your support and your presence means to us. So our next Faculty Senate meeting will be held on March 8th at 10 a.m. Thank you for your time, and I'll do my best to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Well, thank you for that report. And yes, you have our support. You're absolutely correct. So.
Thank you, Chair Pugh. Appreciate you so much. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Staff Senate report. Mr. Gutierrez and Ms. Renteria.
So good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, President Rowley. Thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of Staff Senate. We know that you've got a lot in your packet. We hadn't been together for a while, so what I'd like to do is just do some general highlights of some major things that's been going on, starting out with our announcements and highlights. During our beginning of the semester joint meeting with Faculty Senate, it was decided that we would meet again during the middle of the semester to discuss common themes that Faculty Senate and Staff Senate might have in common. These themes may be used to communicate important ideas or messages about issues that faculty and staff face. We can then work together to discuss how we address and find solutions to these common themes. The next joint meeting is scheduled for April the 12th and will be hosted by Staff Senate. We always meet at the beginning of the semester, but we thought it'd be nice to meet again to address some common themes that we both have. Next item we have is our committee representative updates. We have a lot of representatives from different committees on these, and these are the following committees that are we have representatives for as the Financial Review, President's Diversity Advisory, the Professional Development Funding, Technology Advisory, the CHESS SIS, and the SFCC Strategic Plan. These committee representatives continue to inform and give updates to Staff Senate, which is very much appreciated. And you can see the updates on there on the meeting minutes. And our new business highlights, we have Dr. Ivan Lopez, who's in the audience today. Our new Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs was invited to our last Staff Senate meeting. He introduced himself and gave an overview of his role. Staff Senate welcomes and looks forward to working with Dr. Lopez. And Staff Senate would also like to welcome our new governing board member, Lena Gurman. Got it correct. Staff Senate looks forward to working with you also, Dr. Gurman.
Thank you.
Right?
Me too.
And with that, I'd like to see if my co-chair would like to add anything.
I too would like to welcome Dr. Lena Gurman. Gurman, yes. We made sure that we noted that. My last name is very difficult as well, and so I always like to pronounce correctly. So welcome, and I also want to extend the invitation to join us. I know that you had requested that in the past, and so we would love to have you. So please just let us know. We will, not this Friday, but at the following Friday, we will have Staff Senate at 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, Madam Chair, members of the board, President Raleigh, we stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Anyone? All right, thank you. I would just like to, I love your reports, so. Just so they're very clear, detailed. I always learn things when I read stuff. You transfer a lot of information in your report, so thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thank you for that. And then our next report is the student government report from, now I'm going to try to make sure I say it right, Eden. See? That's okay.
What's your preference?
Eden Young.
Eden.
Eden, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't hear. No.
Doesn't sound like it.
Okay, it's working. Perfect. Chair Pugh, members of the board, and President Raleigh, I'm once again thankful to be given the opportunity to report the work of student government of the Student Government Association since the beginning of the spring semester, but it's been a while since I've been given the chance to give one of these reports, so I have a lot to catch up on. I'll try to keep it brief and try to keep it quick for you all. And I also made some adjustments from probably the sheet that you have in your binders currently. So if anything is different for any given reason, I am more than happy to give you the copy that I currently have with me now.
Okay, thank you.
So let's just start with last semester. So Breast Savers, which is a club of ours, received funding from SGA to attend a national conference, and this opportunity increased their job offers in their respective fields. A lot of them were graduating after the program or after the Breast Savers program. If the information isn't stated directly in the packet on your end there, but it is, I believe they received up to $850 in addition to whatever fundraising they made to attend this conference. The Glass Club held a sale in December displaying and selling a lot of their works. In addition to that, the Clay Club is also held a sale at the end of November in which they donated $1,063 to the campus cupboard from their sign-in auction. The Smiles Club had a raffle for up to 6 weeks as a fundraising event. So this is just majoritively like what our clubs are up to and how our clubs are finding funding, because we as SGA are able to defer funding to them, but other than that, they're responsible for a lot of their own fundraising. Student government saw one of our council members step down, our secretary, leaving a vacancy for the secretary position. And then Reports from student-led programs such as the Campus Cupboard show that student workers assisted in nearly 7,000 different individuals. The way that we count this at the Campus Cupboard is we count the individuals in each household and we add that up. It's because we have a program where not only do we provide snacks to students, but since we're the cupboard, we allow them to take groceries home with them. So if we're benefiting one individual, we're benefiting their household. Additionally, the student exchange benefited 300 students, and by the end of the year, which is, it's expected to increase this year since the exchange was actually a new program that was implemented last year. And then moving on to January of 24, so our first week returning to SFCC's campus, the ambassadors and SGA council members operated a welcome desk, giving directions and offering snacks to over 100 different students that were just joining us here. The ambassador training retreat, which was held, I believe it was in January, I need to check. I think it was January 21st, I think, allowed the ambassadors or the ambassador program to refresh their knowledge and kind of develop those professional skills that the ambassador program tries to promote. Also, we increased our recruitment in the ambassador program so that we can keep areas like the Campus Cupboard open up to 40 hours a week. Previously, the hours were intermittent, so now we're consistently 40 hours we're aiming for. SGA also participated in their own retreat, again, refreshing their skills, setting up new goals for the upcoming semester. Our new objectives are finding more council members to fill our vacancies, planning upcoming events, and preparing for the next semester's elections. Lastly, in January, Nursing Club is actively hosting a fundraising raffle, so it started January and it's ending in March. In February this month, the Campus Cupboard served over 1,000 different individuals. In addition, in January, within the first 2 weeks of school, they served 1,065 household members. And then moving on, student government is running a campaign to raise interest in the upcoming SGA elections in order to establish a strong start for the fall 24 semester. We're anticipating in March having our elections being held, so we want to make sure that students know what SGA is, what they can do, how they can participate in it, or even how they can interact with us, because we want to find more interaction with our group and students. So yeah, and SGA is anticipating hosting elections by the beginning of March and opening voting up for the campaigning period, after a campaigning period. SGA is also looking forward to coordinating with the Office of Student Engagement in order to support a midterm food drive and a support kiosk. If you all are familiar, during the fall semester, right before Thanksgiving break, the Ambassador Program and SGA work together to co-fund a food drive for various different students. The students can sign up for this program, and we disperse food packages in addition to like Albertsons gift cards to people who are going through the semester or through their break and want to, wouldn't otherwise be able to benefit from the cupboard. Well, I think that is it for now. So, with February, yes, sorry, I lost my place. Yes, yeah, this concludes my presentation at the time of this evening, and I stand for any further questions.
Thank you. That's an impressive outreach. You guys are doing a great job. Any questions? Yeah.
The ambassador program, tell me more, because I used to know how it was run pre-COVID. I'm not sure, like, who leads it? What are you guys doing?
Right, so the Ambassador Program is led from the Office of Student Engagement, and it's a differentiation from a work study. Work study is funded partly by the federal government, similar to how you get your financial aid, but the Ambassador Program is 100% paid for by the school, and the Ambassador Program, again, is run solely from the Office of Student Engagement. It's, instead of a stipend-based program, which you might have been familiar with it being in the past, where students would receive, I think, a $300 stipend for the entire semester. Instead, students are given hourly wages as if it were a real job. This entire program is built to promote more professional development and more, as you'd expect from a student worker job, but the emphasis is on building those professional skills. So there's less emphasis on homework. Of course, students come first and work comes first, or work comes first, but we want to make sure that we're cultivating skills that are going to become professional skills: communication, sending emails, making sure you're coordinating with team members.
Yeah.
The primary work that student ambassadors do is, again, student outreach, student engagement, and working in the cupboard, which is our, if you're familiar with the cupboard program, it's a pantry that we allow students to take from, and staff as well. And it allows them to bring groceries back home to their households if, for example, you happen to need to, provide for your family, and you can cut back on grocery costs. In addition to that, we also open a free snack bar available to all students and staff. We also have the exchange, which is almost a sort of thrift store. Individuals can donate their clothing to the exchange, and the exchange allows others to take take the clothing for later, including professional clothing for interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did see it. That's pretty neat. They even have like kids' clothes.
We do actually have kids' toys, because we understand that a lot of our students are also parents. So making sure that those student parents can have clothing for their children and toys for their children is also a priority of ours, which we carry in the exchange.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one more thing. A suggestion. Is the student government working at all on increasing voter registration of students?
Voter registration for the
students, like to check with all the students and see if they want to register to vote, encourage them to vote?
Oh, yeah, that's something that we've been wanting to do, but we haven't begun yet. However, if we do develop this further, we'll be reporting it within the month.
Okay, and if you need contacts by who does the registration for voting, like a League of Women Voters can help you.
They were actually here today.
Yeah, they were? Okay, would love the student government to encourage that.
And you're talking about wider elections outside of the student government election, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about local, nationwide elections.
Right.
Yeah.
No, encouraging students to vote, especially students coming directly from high school, I think is a very important priority. And as student government, we can actually, that's a wonderful suggestion that we should start working towards with more earnest effort.
Thank you.
All right.
Sure, Pew, I have one thing. Eden, thank you for this great report. I really love the first week when students are returning and you all are available for providing snacks and welcoming them. I imagine that creates a more vibrant campus community, which I think has been missing for a while, right? And we're definitely getting back to having more folks being available and present, so that's great. Question for you. I don't know how many folks we have starting at like the 8 weeks session, but are you all planning to do that mid-semester as well for newer people?
It's actually a fantastic suggestion to do another welcome kiosk, because oftentimes, our students are not necessarily disoriented, but our campus can be formatted in somewhat of an abstract way.
Yes.
So making sure that someone's there to be like, okay, down the hall, you need to take a left right here, and then that's the room you're looking for. Doing that at the 8-week mark when accelerated courses start, it could be fantastic, especially for those accelerated courses where every single day counts, and missing a day just, if you were lost, can make a big difference in those courses.
Yeah. Well, thank you for considering it, and also thank you for doing all of this great work, because I know you're busy, and to be giving this much to the community and bringing back programs and opportunities that we had, but you're bringing them back with new flair, I really love. So thank you so much for leading that charge.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're trying to get the ball rolling faster and faster. We want it to be a snowball effect, essentially.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions for Eden? All right. Thank you very much. Good job. All right. Moving on to the next section, President's Report.
All right.
Over to you,
Thank
President
you, Chair
Rowley.
Pugh. I'll begin with the Employees of the Month awards for December and for January. For the Pass It Forward Award from December, we have Erica Encinas from Purchasing, who was nominated by Shirley Villalpando from the School of Business, Professional Studies, and Education. Very well-deserved award. And for January, Evelyn Gonzalez from Contract Training, who was nominated by Erica Encinas from Purchasing. And those folks are doing a lot of great work right now, and really appreciate what they're doing. The WOW-gram for December, it goes to Crystal Sanchez from Kids Campus, who was nominated by Dayanara Contreras from Kids Campus. Can't say enough about what Kids Campus is doing, and they are, I don't know how they keep track of everything, because they have a lot of kids over there. And then for January, Katie Cadena Prieva from Human Resources was nominated by Carrie Morgan Kanyea from Adult Education. And again, Katie is the go-to person in HR, and we really appreciate her keeping us all on track. So I have a few things, a short report, and I really want to focus on kind of a legislative wrap-up because we're still, is it next Friday, Linda, that we...
The 6th.
Yeah, the 6th, that the governor has to sign legislation, but also has the ability to line item veto things in the budget up until that point. So I don't really like to count those things as happening until they've actually happened.
Yeah, don't count your...
Exactly. So we are pretty sure, though, that we are going to end up with a 3% compensation increase across the board. That was a little bit of a disappointing number, I think, for all of us in higher ed. We had started out asking for between 7 and 8. We had been told early on that there was not a whole lot of legislative will for a very significant compensation increase because I think their view is that they'd given us 2 big compensation increases in the past 2 years, and there is a lot of recognition that the oil surplus is probably going to slow down, already has slowed down, I think, and so the really large surpluses that the state of New Mexico has seen in the last couple of years will probably level off somewhat. And so they're really, the message to all of us this year was they really did not want to implement any more recurring expenses than what they could probably get away with, and so there was a lot more will to fund non-recurring projects. There was a faculty salary study bill that got rolled, and what this was, it turned into a study, but it was to implement minimum faculty salaries for all college faculty. So it would have brought a minimum of $55,000 for full-time community college faculty, $60,000 for full-time 4-year faculty, and then it would raise the minimums for adjunct rates for both community colleges and 4 years. The bill got rolled and it got picked up and moved into a memorial that was going to require a salary study on this issue. I really thought that would probably go. I think there was certainly legislative will to do it. HED got behind it. We got behind HED. They ran out of time. So that just didn't pass. Not because anybody was against it, but because they just didn't get it across the finish line. I would not be surprised, though, if HED decides to do this anyway, because they've been talking about doing a salary study. And if that is the case, then all of the colleges and universities will participate in that as much as we can to give them data and really help them understand higher ed jobs, because sometimes that's a kind of a complex thing that we can help with. There's also a bill requiring explicit consent that did pass, and so we will likely have to implement new training programs so that all of our faculty and staff are informed about how sexual consent will have to be broached with students throughout the college, and if we are aware of any situations where that didn't happen, then we're obligated to report those things. So more coming down for us, and we'll find out more about what the expectation for us is on that. And then one thing that I think all of my colleagues were pretty happy about is that there was a $60 million appropriation so far for workforce programs that can also be used for tuition. Member Wilson in particular had asked me about, how do we pay for these programs when Pell doesn't cover at this point anyway. And so this particular appropriation is $60 million over 3 years. So $20 million a year. Our share of it, our proportional share of it, would be about $750,000, which would really go maybe cover everything in terms of paying for workforce programs that are not already covered through the Department of Workforce Solutions or some sort of city fund or something like that. So we'd started out trying to get a more permanent and sustained source of money for those kinds of programs. I feel like this is a really important first step. I don't think anybody thought we'd really get that in 30 days. So, this is good though. For our capital, the automotive program is going to get $45,000 for some sort of a simulation trainer. There's, I think, $75,000 for the welding program, $175,000 for controlled environment agriculture. As we've mentioned already, there's $200,000 that's spread over a 2-year period for KSFR. That we're really grateful for. And then Chess received a $7 million appropriation for the first year of the SIS, and then that of course will be split between the member colleges, and it will cover a good part of our operating expense for that. We are also likely to get money for continuing our QPR suicide prevention training. I'm not exactly sure how much we're going to get, but it might be more than we asked for. And that will be a 3-year program where we will deploy that training throughout the state as much as we can afford to do that. And then hopefully we'll feel like we have covered most people in the state, students, faculty, staff, healthcare staff, and people like that during the next 2 years. I also want to mention that Workday Learning went live last Monday, and this is the new professional development module in Workday. We did this implementation with CNM. It is cool. I looked at it this afternoon when I had a little bit of time, and it's really, I like easy for these things. And it seems to work really, really well. And so I'm really looking forward to the convenience that we can at least offer people when we're imposing those really fun mandatory trainings that we like to impose on everybody all the time. But at least it'll be easier to get to. And then we are also in the process of implementing the Lumens module that is the continuing education software. We're doing this project with San Juan College, and that is an ongoing thing. I'm not exactly sure what the timeline is, but that's also figured in our budget, and I will keep you apprised on how that's going. I think that's been a little bit slower going, but it's going, so that part is good. And with that, I would be happy to stand for any questions that anybody might have. The long detailed report is in your packet. If I can address any questions on there too, I'd also be happy to do that.
Any questions for President Rowley?
Surprise, surprise.
No,
No, I just saw it, like the January report, it says there's a 50 job openings. In the February report, there's a 61 job opening. Can you tell me more? What's happening?
As much as I can, I can tell you that a lot of those jobs often are, they're classified as temporary jobs because they're adjunct faculty positions that, we may have to open up new positions for adjunct faculty kind of at the last minute, depending upon scheduling and how a full-time faculty member's schedule goes, and then the adjuncts are kind of scheduled around that. And then we've also, we have like our lifeguards are listed in there. And so a lot of those job openings really are multiple lines in those particular positions.
I see. But we need more people to hire, it sounds like.
Right. And I'll tell you that in those particular areas, we are always looking for people, always.
Oh.
And so we will always have openings posted.
One other question, is that okay? Is there someone
Yeah,
else?
go ahead.
This is not sexy, but I want to know more about what is this wastewater treatment plant demolition and that was completed? Is this on campus? Was there something here that I didn't know? Okay.
So I can.
So good.
Do you
And
want-
there's a pond?
So, Member Gurman, this is something we've been dealing with over the last few years,
Okay.
closing that out and moving to
The Rancho Viejo
water system.
Cool, okay.
We're in the last part of it, the sludge.
Sounds good.
Very last.
Well, good, congratulations. I just didn't know anything about it. Okay.
Yeah, we actually had a capital, that was a capital program that we had funding for that. And then it was something, we actually had to do it, but it was a good thing to do.
So we have a pond.
We have a sludge pond.
We can have ducks in it eventually.
Not really a pond.
Are you gonna drain it? I thought maybe we can buy some ducks and.
No,
We will.
not that kind of pond.
Dobby, I don't know if you want to explain.
You and
that.
All right.
I've seen ducks on the pond.
Poor duck.
Kind of questions.
We'll compete with
there.
UNM Duck Pond, no?
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Basically, what we did was, it wasn't cost effective to redo the sewer plant. We had our own sewer plant. So we had 2 ponds, and that's what we irrigated the campus at. But, I think it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we started looking at having to actually put money back into it to redo the whole thing, and it wasn't cost effective. In fact, the county suggested that we start looking at Rancho Viejo because their sewer plant was way oversized, and we were able to actually gravity feed everything from here over to their plant. So what we did then is started decommissioning, and so we had to clean this. Our ponds were lined. We had to remove the sludge that was in the bottom of the ponds. We've got that done. Then remove the liners according to code, and we finished that. And the sludge that was in the bottom of the ponds, we just finished getting hauled off. I think it was 3 weeks ago. That was a process. We had the people we had to do it had to get permits. They had to do all this. Yeah, it was a major undertaking. So the only thing that's left, and that's what we're waiting for spring now, is the ponds. The liners removed. It's just dirt ponds now. They're actually going to seed those with grass, and that job is complete. So it won't really be a pond anymore, but...
Can we turn it into a dog park like we have on the north side of town?
It's doing some kind of an outdoor learning area there.
Okay.
Because it'd be nice to do a little, benches and, some kind of something that people can go down and enjoy. So I've got some ideas. We'll work on that.
Thank you.
Dobby, I don't want to get too deep into it right now, but when we used to irrigate all of the plants on campus from that effluent, and so I assume that our water consumption went up when we stopped doing that. I noticed we still have the effluent signs all over campus. Do we have to do that because the plumbing did have effluent in it at one point?
That's something I would check on.
Okay.
I don't think we have to because
Okay.
we had enough. Because right now we're watering with county water.
Mhm.
And what we're trying to do now is we've got a plan in place. We're going to zero escape everything we can and turn it back to the natural so that our irrigation costs won't be going up that much.
Okay.
So, yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Nope, for President Rowley? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next section, which is board reports, discussions, and other business. A couple things I just wanted to touch base with on this piece is I wanted to apologize to everyone for not having a January meeting. Seemed like everyone I knew was sick in January, and we just didn't think we could make a quorum. So rather than have everyone come in and not make a quorum, we just decided to cancel ahead of it. So I apologize because I know it put us behind on a lot of official business, and we haven't gotten to some things, but we're working to catch up. And like I said before, we've split our meetings into 2 meetings, so we'll have a working session. So we hope to catch up more during the working session, and then we'll have the board meeting on the 4th Wednesday. So working sessions on the 2nd Wednesday of the month, board meetings on the 4th Wednesday of the month. All right. Let's see. Did you want to add something, Pierre? I thought you were.
Yes, Chair Pugh. I would like to add on to some of the changes that you all are seeing reflected in today's agenda and the meeting schedule. Audrey and I met last week to go over a day in the life of Audrey, who has to get all of these publicly noticed, who has to submit to the New Mexican and post around campus. And so I just want to thank Audrey for spending that time with me, because it was extremely helpful for me to understand all of the things that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis to get us situated for our meetings. And so what folks can expect to see in probably by next week are 2 calendars for March and April that have clear dates and deadlines for when agenda items need to be submitted to President Rowley, when our board will be reviewing those drafts, and getting them onto the website. And so this hopefully will allow everyone to understand kind of all the different legalities that we have to maneuver to be able to have these meetings. And so, like I said, you'll see these for the next, and by you, I mean anyone who's asked to provide agenda items and board members. And then, of course, Audrey will continue to do her due diligence to make sure that the public is properly informed of what's going on as far as the board meetings go. So with that, those are the only updates. And then also just a quick update that I will be out March and April for medical, and I will begin, we're starting a finance committee, which I have talked about for a long time. Member Siegel and I will be working with President Rowley and Mr. Tejas and whatever other members are identified to have deeper dives into the finances, and ideally we will be beginning in May when I return. So thank you.
All right. Any other announcements? Okay, I will just also talk about other business. In March, there is an ACCT conference on governance that I'm encouraging board members to attend, and especially our new board members. So we'll probably be trying to get folks to that. All right. That's it for that. So moving.
A question,
Go
just
ahead.
going forward, there are a couple things that over time have concerned me. One is, I know students worked very hard for years to create a plastic bottle single-use ban, and it just seems as though we don't follow it. And so I'm wondering if we want to, I'm proposing that we either decide we're going to follow it or we rescind it. And similarly, I think that we had a long time ago, we're joined into a part of a national organization, President's Climate Commitment, and I don't think we're following through on that either. So I think we're officially on their list, but we haven't turned in a report in probably 10 years. And so I think these things we should either decide that we want to participate or decide that it's just too much for us or for whatever reason and rescind those things as a board.
Yeah, Member Wilson, a quick question. Are those in policy? Where is it? So I don't.
No, it's a resolution of the board.
A resolution of the board.
Yeah, years ago.
Do we have a list of resolutions?
We do.
Maybe we should just look through all our resolutions and see which
Do that.
maybe there's others that are hiding
What
out
we
there.
resolved to do, and maybe we should update it. Yeah.
I nominate Chair, or Member Wilson, not Chair. I nominate Member Wilson to chair that committee.
I would look
Do I have
through it
a
with you.
second? So, do you want to take that action?
I would look with Audrey and see what sorts of things maybe are outdated or just need to be revised, updated, or discarded.
That sounds great. If you want to share with all of us and what your recommendations
I
are.
still do think we can get away without the plastic water bottles, but if we really can't, we should rescind that.
Agreed. I think we do both at this point, and I always wonder so, okay. All right, thank you. Anything else? Anyone? All right, okay, so moving on to public comments. I guess, Audrey, I think we have some people signed up.
To stand.
Yeah, please. So, first off, can you tell me how many people have signed up? 9. Okay. So then, I guess what I would ask is, I think we can do 3 minutes per person for public comments. And if there's essentially groups of persons who wish to address the board on the same topic, I would please ask that you maybe designate a representative to speak for you. And then that will allow us to hear different views and information from different people who want to speak to us. All right? So, are you the first one, Mr. Gaines? All right. Thank you.
I don't think it's on.
Yeah,
That doesn't look on.
Yeah.
here comes Mason. Oh, yes, we can hear
It's
you
working
now.
now. Okay. President Rowley, Chair Pugh, the rest of the governing board. My name's Lenny Gannis. I've spoken here before. I'm a full-time professor of biology. I'm president of the faculty union, SFCC, AFT, AAUP. And I wanted to start before my comments just to thank the board for moving comments to later in the day to increase participation, and I think that's going to be a very positive thing. The SFCC's current salary for full-time faculty is barely living wage in Santa Fe. It's only living wage if the faculty member is a single adult, without student debt, and without hopes of buying a home. But faculty should be able to expect a dignified wage for a full-time career work. Faculty should be able to afford to live in the community that they serve. They should be able to afford to raise a family here. They should be able to afford to care for sick parents or other family members. Faculty should be able to afford to retire after serving our community for a career. The union and the college's administration are currently bargaining the full CBA. I'm not going to tell you what is happening at that negotiations, and I'm not going to tell you what happened at previous negotiations. However, in the past, the union has brought multiple proposals to deal with faculty salary situation, and the answer from the administration's bargaining team has always been, we can only give you the cost of living increase that the state is providing. And I'm obviously not privy to the conversations between this body and the negotiating team, but the administration's negotiating team is representing the governing board at the table negotiating with the union. And the union asks that the governing board take the faculty salary situation seriously and let your representative negotiating team know that they need to take seriously what the situation with faculty salaries by offering predictable cost of living increases and meaningful raises that reward longevity at SFCC. The faculty at SFCC are more than just numbers on a budget spreadsheet. They're real people with real lives and real stories. Several faculty members have agreed to speak to the governing board today about the real life impacts of the low salary that SFCC pays faculty. And we hope that you'll listen closely to their stories and think about them as you make financial decisions that impact their lives. I will keep my comments short so that you can hear from those other people, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Other comments? Or you're going to call them? Okay.
She's calling. Comments entered in the minutes.
Good afternoon, board members and Dr. Rowley. Hi, my name is Toni Kaufman. I'm the lead faculty, medical assistant faculty. I've been at FCC going on 7 years now. I became temporary full-time faculty member this past fall. Prior to that, I was adjunct faculty. I'm here to talk to you about my salary. In 1993, I stopped working for Holiday Inn Incorporated after 19 years to pursue other avenues. I was front desk manager and I was making $4,500 less than I'm making 31 years later. There was an inflation problem. I was single and living very comfortably in Nashville, Tennessee. Today I'm separated, living in Santa Fe, just about paycheck to paycheck. I moved to Santa Fe in June, previously living in Rio Rancho, and commuted for 6 years. It got to be too much, primarily due to health reasons. I found it very dangerous for me to be communicating in the dark. I found housing to be in an okay apartment building, but not the best, but adequate and reasonably safe, and took the smallest one bedroom. It was still commercially on the expensive side, more than I can really afford. The only reason I can continue to live there is by the grace of my husband I am separated from. He pays a great deal of my bills. On 2 occasions, he's had to pay the major portion of my rent, and I am a very independent person. I absolutely hate asking him for help, and I shouldn't have to. Because of this, because I was put on temporary 9-month pay on a contract with no option to be paid out in 12 months, I have no source of income for the summer and don't know yet what I'm going to do about that. And frankly, I don't see how I could have lived on the 12-month pay if I had been granted that. So I'm here today to ask you to raise full-time salaries to help us afford to live in the communities that we serve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Gomez.
So Steve Gomez can't be here, but he asked me to read a comment. I don't know if that's okay or not.
So, okay, I think so.
Again, I'm reading this comment for Steve Gomez. I am currently assistant professor and lead faculty for water operations, lead faculty for algae cultivation, and lead faculty for biofuels. I was until the last year the chair of trades, advanced technologies, and sustainability. The last year I was chair of advanced technologies and sustainabilities. I quit being chair this semester. I earned my bachelor's degree at California Institute of Technology in molecular biology. I earned my master's degree in biology and my PhD in molecular cell and developmental biology from UCLA. I received 2 Ford fellowships and did postdocs at the University of Wyoming and UCLA. Through a very long and twisted life path, I was invited to SFCC by Luke Spengenberg to teach in the biofuels program. I was hired as a temporary faculty in biology and taught half-time in biology and alternative fuels for the first year. The president at the time asked if I would be the chairperson of Trades, Advanced Technologies, and Sustainability Department at the beginning of my 2nd year. I remained a temporary faculty each subsequent year, and I earned my 5-year pin as a temporary faculty. When the TATC position was posted and I was offered a full-time position, I was informed that I would have to undergo a 2-year probationary period. I told the administration I would not accept the position under these terms. Luckily, the union negotiations at the time had that probationary time requirement removed in the CBA, so I accepted. When I became chair, I had all the programs in the TATC under me. I was told this was a faculty position. When the auto program was removed and stood up on its own, the position created was an academic director. When the CEA program was stood up on its own, the position created was an academic director. When the trades was stood up on its own, the position was an academic director. I am still a 9-month faculty. I've been here for 10 plus years, and during that time have, with the wonderful and excellent people in the department, created 2 international known programs, and one is the model the Department of Energy is using as the model for future workforce training programs. I am at the highest step for a PhD in the matrix, and I make $15,000 a year less than a manager at Panda Express. I make $27,000 a year less than the manager of McDonald's. I am not suggesting that I am worth a McDonald's manager, but I should be paid at least as much as the manager at Panda Express. While this example is of me and where I stand in the pay scale, if this is my story, what does it say about the rest of the faculty, and especially the adjuncts, which I'm having a very, very difficult time finding those willing to work for the pay? Thank you, Steve Gomez.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gianna Hernandez is online.
Hello, can you see me?
Yes. Yes,
Hello?
we can see
You
you.
can hear me. Excellent. All right. Dear members of the board and Dr. Ellie, thank you for listening to my comments. I am Dr. Gianna Hernandez Mendez. I obtained my bachelor's degree at the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez in geology, and I have a master's degree from the California Institute of Technology in volcanology and physical geology, and a doctorate in neuroimmunology from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. I also have over 10 years of experience teaching science to undergraduates at various institutions, including Hispanic-serving institutions in my home of Puerto Rico and also in the mainland USA. I came to Santa Fe Community College in 2020, right during the pandemic, and was hired to be a biology faculty and teach the upper-level biology courses offered at SFCC. These were cell molecular biology and genetics, along with some introductory biology courses and some biology courses designed especially for nurses because of my background in the medical sciences. I also created and developed and taught Spanish version of an introductory geology course designed to serve those in our student community who are more comfortable in learning introductory science in their native Spanish language. SCC was my dream job. I would be working at just the right size institution with the exact kind of student and community I know I could impact. I was an excellent fit at my department as well. I have nothing but praise for my fellow science faculty and our dean. What could possibly go wrong? Before arriving to Santa Fe, I was immediately shocked at how expensive it would be to rent an apartment to suit our family's needs. Especially when accepting the position at SFCC, I took a significant pay cut. My husband works from home, so finding a 2-bedroom was necessary to accommodate his home office. We ended up paying twice as much rent as we did in the previous place where we lived, and coming to Santa Fe for an inferior apartment in a location I would not have moved my family to had I been a native to the Santa Fe area. Somehow we made it work and moved our family across the country to New Mexico. It soon became obvious we could not stay living where we rented, and we ended the process of trying to find somewhere else. Somehow, rent had gone up by the spring of 2021. In the end, we managed to pull every last resource we had together, and with the help of both of our families, both my parents and his parents, we ended up buying a small condo that we somehow managed to find that had a mortgage that was less than the rent of something comparable in Santa Fe at the time. We were very, very lucky. Sadly, even with this blessing and both of our incomes, living in Santa Fe was a struggle and prohibitively expensive. We felt we were struggling to just stay afloat and had no safety net. As our move and our home purchase had exhausted all of our savings, and my current salary made it impossible for us to save. I was also worried we were one financial away from any kind of financial disaster, like this one emergency that could just completely take us under. I know my sentiment and the low morale that I was feeling was echoed by other faculty, but listening to how our administrators responded to our struggles made me lose hope. At this point, my constant worry over finances and the unnaturally high workload I had at the time from simultaneously creating and teaching a new class started taking a physical and emotional toll on me. By now, it was the fall of 2022. Solace finally came with the unexpected invitation of a previous contact that I had. I was invited to apply for a full-time teaching position at a college that I was familiar with. I felt I had nothing to lose and went through the interview process. In the end, I ended up being the selected candidate, and the offer came with a significant increase to my salary as well as considerable improvement to my benefits. After much thought and consulting with my family and friends, I made the hard decision to accept this offer and leave SFCC. This should not have happened. SFCC is exactly the kind of place I wanted to work at. It was my dream job. I was surrounded by excellent and caring faculty devoted to serving their students, and by students who could see themselves in someone like me with my background and my particular experiences. I loved my department. I loved my students. I loved my classes. But it was impossible for me to make it work with the salary I was receiving. Truth be told, I was barely surviving. If you want to be the kind of institution that attracts and keeps top educators, you need to provide more than just empty promises and dead dreams. I know my own worth. I know I am an excellent educator, and my students and my fellow faculty that have seen me teach know what I bring to the classroom and what I can provide. Things need to change. We deserve to live in the community that we serve. Your faculty deserves to thrive, not just survive. I hope you can listen to my story and take the measures necessary to ensure that this doesn't happen to anyone else, because no one else dreams need to die. Thank you for your time.
Hello, everyone. I have my notes here because I would talk for 15 minutes. I'm a historian. Hello, my name is Dave Seco. I'm an associate professor of history here at SFCC. I have been a member of the SFCC faculty for more than 10 years. I came here from elsewhere in New Mexico for family reasons, and I accepted a minor pay cut to do so, and I have never regretted that decision. SFCC is a great place to work, and my colleagues are among the best that I have had the privilege of working with. And just an aside, I spent the first 18 years of my career at R1 research universities, so I've known some pretty heavy hitters. Where was I? Our students have enriched my life and taught me more than I can ever repay. But I am not exaggerating when I say that the last few years have been the toughest that probably any of us have seen, and certainly that I've seen in my career. And some of these challenges are tied to the everyday struggles of trying to stay afloat financially. And this, in turn, is forcing many to question their career choices and where they can afford to work. Our institution has a difficult mission requiring not only qualified but also dedicated faculty who understand our students, our community, and our state. Yet we have attracted and continue to attract faculty whose dedication, experience, and creativity have enabled SFCC to thrive as an institution. That being said, over the last few years, we have lost too many irreplaceable educators, and we can't afford to lose any more. Although we have been able to hire exceptional people to fill some of those vacancies, we will have to retain them, along with continuing to fill the many vacancies that remain. One pressing issue is the consequences of our inadequate pay. Our faculty cannot afford to live in Santa Fe and face long commutes from nearby and not so nearby communities. Even accepting the fact that Santa Fe is too expensive, even for professionals with graduate degrees, it is still true that the cost of living everywhere continues to trend upward. Yes, we have received several raises over the years, but most of these were what the legislature called for and not initiated by the institution itself. And it has not helped enough. People are making the difficult choice to look elsewhere because of the cost of living issues and the lure of better pay. It doesn't help that some of our students can eventually earn more as K-12 teachers. And please don't think I believe they are overpaid, because they earn every penny, but so do we. Of the many issues we are facing, you can help us best by helping us stay here, by helping us meet those rising costs of living. And this reminds me of a little fable I heard many, many years ago, and you'll tell it was many years ago, but it's still true. A man woke up from a coma after 30 years. After the congratulations and well-wishers left, he received a call from the son of his old banker, who informed him that 30 years of investing his money had made him a millionaire. He felt a rush of euphoria that was interrupted by the operator cutting in to say, "Please deposit $50,000 for the next 2 minutes." Okay. I came here today not for myself. I am currently on FMLA sick leave, and I won't be able to return to work. I am here on behalf of my fellow faculty and because I remain committed to our mission and our students. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, board. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. My name is Eline Kari. I'm the chair of World Languages, and I really think you don't have to listen to all these because you know what we have been asking. But yet, we shouldn't be here again asking over and over again for something so obvious. You see a few of us here today, and the reason why there are not more of us here is because we're tired, we are frustrated and hopeless. And I don't think this is faculty versus administration at all. I even think that sometimes faculty don't realize how much administrators work and care. I interact with administrators every single day, and you all are amazing, absolutely. We can't function without you. But you wouldn't have your job if we were not here. And we couldn't work if there were no students. I still have this vivid image of our campus after the pandemic, a dead place. So you see, this is not a pyramid structure. We are a living entity. We depend on each other. We are here to talk about mutual respect and acknowledgement of our work. We receive emotional recognition from our students, and that is priceless. That's our passion. That's our commitment as educators. What is not priceless is us having to live in Santa Fe with a laughable income. What is sad, frustrating, and disappointing is knowing that for you, our value as educators of current and future generations is not worth a decent salary. When we see our final check after taxes, health insurance, dental insurance, and after working even on weekends because we need to teach as many classes as possible in order to pay the bills, it makes us cry or quit, like many of us have done already. It seems there is a plan for student retention, but not one for faculty retention. When I tell my friends and family about my job, teaching, grading, advising, doing gen ed assessment, department assessment, training faculty, learning how to navigate new softwares and platforms, taking online training, serving in different committees during recruitment, working with marketing, managing students' daily niches, including weekly cases of students with special needs, doing free Spanish interpreting for the college, creating and monitoring pathway maps, updating department websites, interviewing adjuncts, visiting high schools, evaluating faculty, presenting reports to deans. And I tell them about my salary. They ask me, what are you doing there? What am I doing here? I love this place. I love my colleagues. I love my students and the staff. I feel down sometimes, but I am positive and believing that changes are coming. And I hope I don't have to be sitting here soon asking you to recognize our work and value. Please don't lose us because we are your team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
S.J. Miller is online.
I don't know.
Okay, Chris can hold.
Hello, my name is Chris McGlone. I am a recent hire here. I started in the fall in the biology faculty. I have a PhD. Before coming here, I had over 10 years of teaching experience. And I was really jazzed about the idea of coming to Santa Fe to teach. I have lived most of my life in the Southwest, including a large portion of that in New Mexico. I love the state. I always loved coming to Santa Fe. And I was happy to have the opportunity to work here and live here and be part of the community. It's a great community here, and it's a beautiful place. I was up in Montana when I was hired for this position. I knew I was not going to be happy with the cost of living in Santa Fe. It has always been more expensive than most of the rest. You know, I mean, yeah, Los Alamos looks down, it's down the hill at a house and wishes the cost of living was as cheap as it is here. But, you know, outside of Los Alamos, everybody else looks at Santa Fe and goes, oh my God, what do you pay? What do you want me to pay to live there? And so I'm Montana, like I said, came down last fall. And I wasn't surprised at how expensive it was. I was downright traumatized at how expensive it was. I managed to find a one-bedroom apartment here, which was not bad, but nothing special. It was a one-bedroom in a fourplex with no yard, very few amenities, and awful parking. But apparently, just finding an apartment is difficult to do here. And renting is completely off the board. I mean, if financial managers recommend you not spend more than 3 times your annual salary on a lease. My annual salary is a little over $61,000 a year. If you take that times 3 and plug that number into Zillow, you'll see how many houses for sale or anything for sale comes up, and it'll be 0. The apartment I rented was at the very low end of what apartments cost in Santa Fe. It cost $1,750 a month with no utilities included. That is low by Santa Fe standards. That is also about 2/3 of my monthly take-home base salary, going exclusively to rent. When you factored in utilities, my car payment, and insurance, I was down to about $100 a week to pay for everything else, food, gas, any purchases I needed to make. And you all know what the economy is like now. $100 will not get you very far. You're lucky if you can even pull off food for $100 in a week, let alone every other life necessity. I tried this for a semester. By the end of last semester, I basically told my landlord, is like, hey, can you repost this apartment? I can't afford to keep paying for this. He was very generous about that. He reposted it. Apparently it was a very inexpensive apartment because we got inundated with viewings for it. And within 2 weeks, someone had taken over the lease. I have since moved down to Albuquerque. I'm doing the commute. My school has been very cooperative in adjusting my schedule, so I basically work 2 12-hour days face-to-face, and then I have some online obligations elsewise. For substantially less than I was paying up here, I now rent a 2-bedroom apartment in one of the, down in the college district, fairly lively part of town. I have a yard, I have, everything within walking distance. And within 3 months of rent savings, I pay for my entire year's commute in gas. Now, granted, I'm dumping tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is not ideal, but those are the real world numbers associated with trying to live on what Santa Fe Community College pays us. And I will echo the comments of the people before me. I like Santa Fe. I like Santa Fe Community College. I think the students here are awesome. The faculty, it's a gorgeous campus and it's a gorgeous town. I would love to live here, but I can't. It's absolutely untenable as a person trying to live exclusively on SFCC income. Hopefully, I will be able to keep the position. I would like to. It's perfect if I could move back up here, but I'm not really very happy that I have to live in Albuquerque to afford to be able to work at Santa Fe Community College. It's something I wrestle with every day as I'm dodging people trying to kill me on the interstate coming up here or going back at the end of the day. I work hard. I am very reliable. I show up every day. My grading is always done on time. I'm prepared for class every day. My students give me good feedback. I'm on good terms with all the people I work with. Just as kind of bragging to everybody, when I inherited the biology lab from my predecessor, it was basically an ecological disaster. I spent all of last semester cleaning that thing up. We just passed a fire safety inspection that we would have failed horribly. I'm happy to do these things. I like it when things get better because I'm there. But I have to be able to live here, and I can't. I don't like the idea of consuming large quantities of gas. It's not even my time so much. It's just inappropriate to have to do that type of commute to work at a place that is unwilling to pay me sufficiently to live in the same county. I don't even live in the same county as the college. So anyway, you've been hearing this from everyone. I've just had to do my share of railing. I will happily take questions, but that's the world from my view. I just wanted to put some actual numbers in to give some context on that. And I kind of want to put a little challenge out to the board. See how long it takes for $100 in 1 week to disappear. You're probably going to be through that by, the first couple of days of the week. I was having to make that go the entire week, and I was just watching my my savings get lower and lower and lower, and I'm working hard. I feel like I should be paid. I should be having more money, not less money, after a hard week's work. So, anyway, this is the third time now I think I've said I won't have nothing more to say, but I'd take any questions if you have. Otherwise, I'll let you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Kate McCahill, and I'm an associate professor of English here at the college and a chair of English and Communications. In addition to what's already been said, I wanted to make the point that the low pay we offer creates a barrier for entry to teaching here, one that's exacerbated for certain populations. I'm certain that all of us see the value in a diverse faculty, one that includes faculty from around the country as well as from Santa Fe, faculty of color, faculty parents, and first-generation college grad faculty. Yet low faculty salaries punish these populations, effectively discouraging those with financial challenges, caregiving responsibilities, and other burdens from taking a job here. We're rewarding those with privilege, candidates who can afford to take a low-paying job they love while discouraging candidates who can't. Adjuncts also need and deserve a more fair compensation. As full-time departments shrink, we must harness adjuncts more and more. Alongside full-time faculty, adjuncts advise our students, evaluate student work, mentor students, direct them towards useful resources, and empower them to achieve their goals. Yet just last year, a beloved longtime adjunct faculty member died alone in a rental she couldn't afford to heat. Afterwards, faculty noted she'd been spending extra time in the adjunct faculty office, hunkered down, staying warm. Increasing our income means increasing our value at home, in our classrooms, and in the eyes of the community. We need to work harder to ensure that a diversity of candidates can feel supported enough to apply to teach here. Without a dynamic, empowered faculty, this college, alongside our salaries, is bound to stagnate. Thank you for listening.
Hello? Go ahead. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Sure, Pew and members of the community, while we're waiting for SJ to get their camera or their audio working, I just want to let folks know that I do have to leave. This was prearranged, so I do apologize to those of you who are left to make public comments. This is not a reflection that I don't want to hear what you have to say, but I do have to rush over to Kids Campus to get my daughter, so thank you.
Thank you.
Can you look at people and see if he's muted in there?
We see.
Under participants?
Doesn't look
Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Mason, can you look at participants? Or?
There and there.
He's not muted.
He looks like
No,
he's
not muted on his side. Are your speakers muted, maybe?
What about that mic button? Just kind of click it on and off, maybe.
Nope, sorry, still can't hear you.
What about now?
Yay!
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Governing Board and Dr. Rowley. It's nice to see you virtually. I'm going to start off with some numbers, and then I want to tell a little bit of my story. To put this in perspective, I left the #1 teacher education program in the United States, University of Wisconsin-Madison, which has the highest pedigree of teacher educators, if not in the world, definitely in the United States. I left $150,000 salary to come home for $52,000. That is almost a $100,000 pay cut. I am homegrown. I grew up in Santa Fe Public Schools. I graduated from Santa Fe High. I left to go to UC Berkeley. I came home because I wanted to teach back in my community. I then taught in Santa Fe Public for the next 8 years, and I coached soccer. I started my doctorate at UNM in 2002. I finished my PhD in 2005. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of perspective. When I left here in 2005, I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have been a professor in higher education at Research One, Tier 1 universities like David Seco talked about. That is the highest tier. Those are the most well-funded institutions. And the pedigree for me continued to grow. My first year out of grad school, I made $52,000. I am now making barely over that at SFCC. So just like some of my colleagues were saying in terms of salary and how hard they have to work, I heard people providing numbers and different tasks they have to do. I work 3 jobs right now to afford my home, to afford my lifestyle. I work 3 jobs, plus I have my own private consulting. I have no time to rest. I adjunct at 2 Tier 1 institutions currently. I work with doctoral students, again, in order to supplement my income. I work tirelessly for the campus. I am a full professor in teacher education. I am tenured. I help run the teacher education program. We have students, a couple hundred students that are becoming teachers around New Mexico, which all of us know, besides nursing, are the 2 areas that our state has been hit the most in. We work with our students around the clock. It's like a doctor. We have to support our students who are helping to facilitate the education of our kids in New Mexico to become stronger and more affirmed in who they are and to stay home and to support the economy. My first year teachers who don't even have a teaching license make $50,000. $50,000, which is nearly more than most of us are even making in our first couple of years here. Some of my 3rd-year teachers are making $60,000. They are earning more than me, and I work 3 jobs, and I help them become better teachers. I've written over 50 peer-reviewed articles. My research is being used by UNESCO, by the University of Santiago, by a charter in South Africa, in New Zealand, and Australia. I work 3 jobs. I give keynotes around the world. I continue to write. I continue to publish. I continue to do research in addition to working 3 jobs. Now, I keep using the word 3 jobs because I only want to work 1 job. I want to be able to have time to rest. I want to be able to go to sleep at night and not worry about getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, to be able to keep an entire day going. I work all summer. I've taken out 2 lines of equity on my home. I work 3 jobs. That's not right. I want to be here. I love my colleagues. I love Santa Fe Community College. I intentionally came home because I wanted to be of service to this community. And I am of service. I'm of service to the campus, and I'm of service to my colleagues. So what I'm asking you, like my colleagues, is to please consider some of our circumstances. I've applied for other jobs. I mean, I'm not going to lie there. I can't continue to live. This is not sustainable. And I know a number of faculty who are doing the same. We've lost so many amazing people. And right now, our cultural and social capital is going down, and it's only a matter of time till other people continue to leave. We have world-class faculty. Mine is only this much. You should hear the amazing things that my colleagues do. And I'm really sad to see some of the people in the audience who've left us, but I also thank you all for being here. So I want to remind you again that working 3 jobs is not tenable. And I'm not the only one who has to adjunct in order to support their lifestyle. I live in 560 square feet. That's really small. My place in New York was 300 square feet. So I'm living in a very small area in order to afford to stay in Santa Fe. So I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration, and to please take into consideration everything that my colleagues have said today.
Remind folks to try to keep it to 3 minutes so we have a chance to hear from everyone. Oh, that was it? Oh, well, okay, in that case then. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we heard from everyone. I see more people in the audience, and I don't have access to who signed up, so I just thought we had more coming.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to let members of the audience know that because of Open Meetings Act, we're not in a position where we can discuss or ask questions about the comments here. Now, having said that, I encourage President Rowley to look into some of the things that were brought up here so that the board can have a further discussion and perhaps put some of this on the agenda in the future.
Thank you, Member Wilson. Anyone have any comments? I think just like Member Wilson said, we really appreciate you taking the time, coming here, sharing with us your experiences. We do know it's hard, and we do support you, and so we too are looking for options. So I would just thank you. Thank you for coming. All right. If we don't have any more public comments then, moving on to announcements. The Governing Board work session, next work session is March 13th at 3 p.m. and the Governing Board meeting will be March 20th at 3 p.m. So without further ado, do I need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? So
Motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. So I would just also encourage folks, we have some snacks over there. Please help yourself. All right, adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.